I'm Josh at Skid Pro. Beautiful fall day out in the yard, taking a look at some grapples. We're going to start here with the skeleton grapple, one of my absolute favorites. Traditional root style, dual independent grapples. This thing is a back saver and a time saver. Well, when it comes to Skid Pro, we always like to dissect how we're different than the competition. And believe me, there's a lot of competition. There's low price grapples everywhere you turn these days, it seems. We always will focus on quality first. So where do we start? We start with the frame, the design, and the build. That'll tell you a lot about a grapple. This one comes in at almost 900 pounds on our 72 inch. Where does that weight come from? Well, it starts with the steel. Not just that we have a lot of it, but the grade of it. We use 80,000 plate, so it's a high tensile steel, it's very strong. There is a big difference between your mild grade A36 and your higher tensile steel. We start with the frame. 4x4 square tubing running on the top and on the bottom in the back. It's a thick walled steel tubing, that same high tensile. That helps set the framework for this grapple. We run 1/2 inch tine and end plates. That completes that bucket frame. That cross member support up front is a 3 inch high tensile steel tube. One of the key areas we just refuse to scrimp is on the top grapples. Got to make them heavy because they're going to take a ton of abuse. They're going to open and shut 1,000 times or more in their lifetime. We're talking about a lot of pressure because we use industrial cylinders. They've got to be strong, they've got to be tough. So we start with 1/2 inch side plates. You notice we get them nice and wide around the stress point where it meets the front. We have the 3 inch pipe that goes across here. We protect the cylinder from debris when that grapple is open. That back side is 1/4 inch metal and 1/4 inch gussets up here as well. We run those gussets extra deep down to the tines for added strength. A couple other features that are very important. We talked about that grapple is going to be open and closing a lot in its lifetime. We run greasable pivot points on every pivot point. 2 on the cylinder, 2 on the back grapple. That's going to give you low maintenance, they're easy access, you're going to have a long life on that grapple. Additionally, they're oversized 1.25 inch pivot pins. That bigger pivot pin just adds strength in a critical wear area. One of the areas the lower quality grapples cut corners is their cylinder tower. We call it the cylinder and the grapple tower. You notice ours here are very beefy. We have a kind of a boxed frame on that. Same thing here with the tower. We set them at the optimal angle, so not only are they very strong, but we have a tremendous amount of clamping force. By raising that tower and setting it at a forward angle slightly, we have a significantly higher clamping force, which means you're going to have better load security, and that is key when you're working. 2 areas that the competition often overlooks: cylinder protection and hose routing. First, let's start with the cylinders. We run an industrial cylinder, not an ag tie rod cylinder, nothing light duty. It's a 2.5 inch bore, 1.25 inch rod, 10 inch stroke. We already talked about greasable pivot points around and the extra large pivot pins. But one of the key areas is the cylinder cover. A lot of times you see just a light little cover coming off the cylinder. Anytime debris hits that, it's still going to pound the cylinder. There may be a slight cover, but for the most part there's no protection there. Here we have fully boxed cylinder covers. They're completely boxed 360 degrees, and we run them through the pivot pin. So that big 1.25 inch pivot pin supports it. So when something hits this, instead of the cylinder taking that hit, it's distributed throughout the cylinder cover, and the cylinder pins actually take the brunt of it. Because there's the big 1.25 inch pivot pins, there's plenty there to take that abuse. That is key. So many of the light duty ones don't do this, and that means you're going to be going through cylinders, you're going to have to deal with downtime, it's going to be a headache. Another area that the competition cuts corners is hose routing. Notice here we have absolutely no exposed hoses. We protect them inside that 360 cylinder cover. They go down through the tower, which is also completely protected, into the back portion of the grapple, and we run them through to a removable guard here. If you ever need to get in and change fittings, you remove this plate. But they are protected from the cylinder all the way back till they exit the grapple. And that is absolutely key. Just last week I got a call from a customer and he sent a picture, and I don't know how many sets of hoses he went through, but he said, I've got this old grapple, I need something that isn't gonna break down on me constantly. Often overlooked, but such an important feature you absolutely must have for a grapple. So this grapple runs a depth of 35 inches. That's on the inside to the tip of the teeth. The opening is close to 40 inches from the bottom cross member. Because we use those upturned tines, tine to tine is about 35, 36. And speaking of those upturned tines, we do that for a very important reason. One, it helps with load security. By having those tines tipped forward when we go in and scoop, it keeps what's in the grapple in the grapple. But the real key, the real genius behind these upturned tines is the fact that you can rake the ground when you're almost finished. Oftentimes that final hand labor is what just takes a lot of time and a lot of manpower. With the upturned tines, you're able to raise up your loader arms, tip forward so just this tine is on the ground. It's able to float over the ground without digging in. You can move very quickly, and yet it'll accumulate all that final stuff right into the grapple. When you have a straight tine at the bottom, it's very difficult to not either be too far down and digging in or too far off the ground and stuff is getting under your grapple. That's why we run that upturned tine. They're about 6 inches in length and they're fully gusseted with 1/2 inch gussets all the way across. Built very, very tough. Tine spacing varies a little bit on the width, but on our 72-inch models, we run right at 8.5 inches inside diameter, allowing a lot more of that dirt to fall through when you're doing brushwork. Without question, this is our most popular design grapple. If you're looking for versatility and a do-all grapple, this is the one you should be looking at. If you have any questions about this or any other Skid Pro product, call the Product Gurus at 877-378-4642 or visit us online at www.skidpro.com.